Obviously not, this is not your soccer field grass, but in areas you could cut back your mowing costs and improve water quality because they require very little fertilization, if any really, and it's great wildlife habitat, and then potential fuel production. I'm just going to go through a couple slides to sort of whet your appetite to this idea of fuel production. We've been talking for years now about the potential to use native grasses, pelletize them, and burn them for fuel. And we finally have an operation that's actually up and running doing this. So I just want to use this as an example just to kind of let you know that this exists as a possibility in New Jersey. This is Plainview Growers. They're a greenhouse operation in Alamucci up in Warren County. And what you see here is their operation. It's 8 acres of glass and plastic. So it's a big operation. And they got into this pelletizing fuel business because was it, John, 2008, I believe?
Yeah, when the
fuel prices went up to $4 a gallon, and they burn 150,000 gallons a year.
Yeah, Ari said his bill that year was $750,000
Oh my gosh.
for oil.
Yeah, so that's not sustainable. It was not good for business. So he said, I want to be energy independent, and on his own looked into things and started building that network, working with Rutgers and New Jersey RCD and Audubon and others. And ultimately where things are at today, and this picture was just taken last week, he has put in a pellet mill, and Judy, was there a pointer?
Yeah, it's that,
Is it this thing?
the red, and the
Okay.
red is actually the pointer.
Oh, cool.
Duh.
It's very tiny, es muy pequeño. Okay. Well, on the right side, basically what happens is giant hay bales come in, either round or square, and they get crushed up, and ultimately at the end, in the hopper on the right, you have pelletized grass. And you can see a picture of it in my hand that I took at my desk this morning. And he takes those pellets and transfers them to these 2 silos, and from there they are fed on a conveyor into this biomass furnace. This is very large scale because it's a large operation. They have tremendous heating needs. But this same type of system could be transferred to heating a school, a municipal building. They do have biomass furnaces for the homeowner level, but from what I've seen, the more institutional scale is probably a better way to go because of just efficiencies in the system. So just to sort of whet your appetite on that one. Another implementation project, streambed stabilization, and I'm glad I went after Mark because I can say a whole lot less about it because he's talked about this a lot. This is actually Minebrook Park, which is in Raritan Township in Hunterdon County, and it's upstream of the Walnut Brook project that Mark was talking about. Why it's Minebrook Park, but it's the Walnut Brook flowing through it, I don't know. But there was a real safety concern in the top left. I don't know if you can really tell, but there was a gravel walking path. And this bank erosion was continuing, Mark mentioned 23 feet a year. It was very actively eroding. And at one spot along the trail went off the abyss. And so the township knew they had to do something. And so we worked with them, we brought in partners, and we got funding from National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Raritan Township stepped up and they kicked in some funds as well. We had lots and lots of volunteers, lots of folks out there planting and enjoying it. We used a combination of rocks and plants, and the picture on the bottom is taken this summer. It's a beautiful forested buffer now and a nice stable bank, so it's a great success story. And again, I knew I was going after Mark, so I could just put a few bullets on this. This is the Walnut Brook downstream of that project. As we were evaluating that project, we said, well, let's see what the watershed looks like, and you look upstream and downstream and you do your resource inventory. And we saw that there were tremendous opportunities on the property downstream, which was owned by the Hunterdon Land Trust Alliance, and their goal for the property was to be a model for proper stream corridor management. We said, well, we'd like to talk to you then. So the top left is what the field looked like before we did the wetland and floodplain enhancement project, and then on the bottom right, those are 2 of my 3 boys out there with their Nerf battle axes looking for frogs. And that was taken very early this summer, and now the grasses are yay high. So providing great wildlife habitat and the flood storage and all the other benefits that Mark talked about. So, another thing I want to mention, if I that project, when I talk about partnerships, we had 23 partners involved that we've actually documented. It's possible we've missed some. So it started small, it started with just a few, and then it grew and it built, and every one of those partners brought something to the table. It may have been cash, it may have been volunteer support planting plants, it may have been something that we hadn't even dreamed of that we could do. And so that's the success story in working with tapping into the nonprofits. You can go it alone, but you'll be able to build something that much richer by tapping into the partnership. Okay. Some of the benefits of open space management and working through a process like what we're proposing with the Stewardship of Open Space program. Clearly the environmental benefits, I think we all can, probably rattle off a bunch of those that you can see if you listed here. The community benefits is a big part of it, the quality of life, and taking this holistic approach to looking at your open space resources. Access to things like fresh local food. If that's something that you value, you need to plan for that, and you need to decide where, private sector could take care of it, but maybe the municipality can be a catalyst to that, and dedicating and saying, yes, this is a parcel we're going to dedicate to this, and do the things that you need to make that attractive to a farmer to run a business like that. And it also reduces your maintenance costs because you're not having to mow that, they're taking care of it for you. And cost savings, you have access to grant and other funding sources. Like I mentioned, the potential to grow your own fuel. A lot of these projects would help you work towards becoming Sustainable New Jersey certified, and with that comes access to certain funding sources, and also protection of infrastructure. That was something I believe Mark mentioned, that when you have bank instability, you run the risk of your infrastructure downstream, bridges and footpaths and whatnot being damaged. So let's see. In closing, my contact information is on the sheet, as Judy mentioned, and also if you're interested in more information specific to the Stewardship of Open Space program, we have brochures out on the table where the New Jersey Water Supply Authority has their display. So it looks like this. Feel free to grab one or email sos@northjerseyrcd.org. And like Chris said, we're not free, but we're cheap.